I think for many of us, when we are developing our vocabulary and trying to find our voice from a jazz improv perspective, I think it's typical for most people to find a couple of different players that really resonate with sounds that they like and different, types of devices for improvisation that they would like to incorporate into their own playing. And for me, Cannonball Adderley was one of the first improvisers that I really heavily got into when I was in college. And through transcribing his solos and just different licks here and there, I picked up on a couple of different devices that I think are pretty cool and definitely give you that Cannonball Adderley sound. And I figured it would be great just to kind of take a bunch of different licks and present them in a way that is educational and can kind of give you some new improvisational devices to incorporate in your playing that can give you that Cannonball Adderley sound. Alright, this is a really cool solo break over the tune Love for Sale, and this is off of a Miles Davis album called The 58 Sessions, which is filled with so many great solos from Cannonball. Definitely check this one out if you haven't heard it. And one thing that I think is really interesting about this is that he's using the whole tone scale, so it's cool to kind of see how he utilizes that scale in this instance. So it's another solo break, and this one, it's over the key of E flat major, and he does a solo break over the 5 chord, so it's just over B flat dominant 7. And for his solo break, he starts out like this. I think that's such a cool sound right off the bat. So he's thinking just a B flat whole tone scale. So B flat whole tone scale, all whole steps. So when you use a whole tone scale over a 5 chord, over a dominant chord, it gives you an interesting selection of intervals. It gives you the root, the second or the 9, the third, the sharp 11 or flat 5, sharp 5, flatted 7th. So it gives you the 2 or the 9, which is a non-altered tone, but then it gives you that flat 5 and sharp 5. So it's an interesting kind of in-between. So with this lick, he starts with D, B flat, and C, which is the third, the root, and the 9. And then he does an augmented arpeggio starting on A flat. You could think of this as C, E, or A flat augmented because they're symmetrical, so they're all the same thing. But that gives us intervallically the flatted 7th, the sharp 11 or flat 5, and the 2 or the 9. So we start with. Alright, so that's the whole tone portion of that lick. And now right here, it's going to give us another augmented thing that he's doing. So now he starts on the 13, which is G, and he plays it twice, then he goes down a half step, which makes it the sharp 5, and here's where the augmented stuff comes in. So it's the F sharp or G flat, whatever you want to call it, and then D and B flat, so right down an augmented, so sharp 5, 3, and root. And then A flat, which is our flatted 7th. Now I should probably talk about the right hand with this one because I'm doing kind of like a back sweep, so I'm going right here with the D and B flat. I'm doing like a 2 up strokes, and then I'm doing a quick downstroke on the A flat. So that was a technique that I kind of, developed from learning a lot of Charlie Parker heads and just, like I said, trying to translate some saxophone players onto the guitar, and I found that that really helped getting some of the articulation. All right, and then after that, he plays another G flat note, and then lands on G, which is the beat 1 of the E flat major 7 chord, so he starts on the 3rd. So again, another one where he's utilizing the augmented arpeggio, but in a slightly different way. This time he starts on the natural 13, and then goes down a half step to give it that augmented change. And this time he goes down the 3rd and the root, and then flat 7, and then sharp 5 again to go up a half step and resolve to the 3rd of the 1 chord. Then from there, once we're on the 1 chord, he goes, so it's the 3rd, then he jumps up to the 9, 7, 5. So if you look at those 4 notes, it's really out of a G minor 7 arpeggio, which gives you an E flat major 9 sound. And then he just does an E flat major arpeggio starting on the root, going right down, root, 5, 3, 1. Very pretty sound. So for this lick, we start out with some ideas around the whole tone scale. Then he starts on the natural 13, goes down a half step to make it augmented, does some stuff around a B flat augmented arpeggio, then resolves it to E flat major, and he does some notes around a G minor 7 arpeggio to give you an E flat major 9 sound, and then he just goes down an E flat major arpeggio. So this lick would be... All right, so that is it for lick number 9. Now on to lick number 10.